Hello, this is Nauras Mahmoud, Iraq's Child Protection AOR Co-Coordinator. In this session, we will talk about how to ensure the participation of local and national actors in the HNO and HRP process. So, more than 50% of the membership of the General Protection Cluster and AORs at the national coordination groups are drawn from local and national actors. Therefore, it is critical that such a big group of the protection community is included in the humanitarian program cycle or the HPC. In addition, local and national actors hold a wealth of local knowledge, information, and expertise, which can be missed if they are not included in the HPC process. And since the Humanitarian Need Overview, or the HNO, is the first step in the HPC, so including local and national actors in the process will become a foundation for the continuous participation in the next HPC processes. Coming to the HNO, pre-HNO and HRP meetings with local and national actors are recommended. This will help them to develop a good understanding of what the HNO and HRP is all about. Then it is essential to explain the process of the development of the preparedness and response plans. Protection cluster coordinators and the AORs should ensure translation available as necessary and when it needed. In case there will be virtual consultation, local and national members of the cluster should be prepared accordingly and always encourage local and national actors to participate in the needs assessment or in secondary data review if this is happening. Include them in the discussion and selection of the priority geographic areas, community and specific groups to be targeted. And national cluster coordination groups should coordinate and collaborate with national and local authorities while identifying key activities and target groups and locations to ensure that humanitarian principles are also respected. Should the cluster coordination team decide to set up a task force or a review committee for the HNO process, so ensure that local and national actors are included and are encouraged in all the decision-making process and other activities. When preparing the narrative for the HNO, ensure that localization is referenced in the overview of the needs chapter. And highlight and reference the role of local and national actors in the involvement of community members, such as community-based organization, faith-based networks, women groups, and academia in the data collection and analysis. If these groups are not engaged regularly, so consider ways to reach these groups during the HNO and HRP process. And in the operational presence chapter of the HNO, disaggregate partners according to whether they are national or international actors. And in the operational capacity chapter, refer to the importance of institutional strengthening of local partners, if applicable. And finally, disaggregate people reached and funding trends from the previous year by type of agency that deliver the services. For instance, local government, an NGO or INGO or UN agencies. Coming to the HRP process, so the coordination team should encourage the active participation of local and national actors, as they are the main workforce of our protection response, and the role of the local and national members of the coordination group should be reflected in the narrative of the sectoral and intersectoral sections. The participation of the local and national actors in the HRP process is made easier when they are already participated in the HNO process. It is still important to explain to the local and national actors about the HRP process and the various steps and to ensure translation as necessary. Through workshop or meetings, ensure that local and national actors participate in the development of the protection cluster and AOR strategic objective, planned activities, monitoring indicators, target, and standards. It is important to disaggregate cluster indicators that will be delivered by local and national members of the protection cluster and the AOR's coordination groups. When it comes to the preparation of the project sheet, prioritize project design and service delivery by local and national actors. And the protection cluster and AOR coordination must ensure that at least 25% of the HRP allocation are set aside for the local and national members of the protection cluster and AORs. In the response plan narrative, mention the national and subnational cluster leadership structures and the role of local and national actors in the cluster leadership, for instance, in the strategic advisory group or co-leadership of technical task forces or working groups, and articulate the need of translation service to enhance the participation of local and national members, and ensure that cluster response includes an output on institutional capacity development of local actors in the response framework, and clearly advocate for direct and flexible funding for local partners where possible, and always encourage partnership, which include capacity sharing, mentoring, coaching, and shadowing components. It is important to provide orientation to local and national members of the coordination groups on how they will contribute to the 3W or 5W in the HRP. This will ensure the effective participation of local and national members of the coordination groups in the response monitoring. This is the end, and thank you for listening.